This is an introduction to the Servo U ventilator. I will be showing you how to turn on the ventilator. The on-off switch is at the back of the machine, over here. There is a metal knob that you have to pull down and flick. After doing so, you will notice that the green indicator light comes on, indicating that the ventilator has now been turned on. Now we will talk about how to do the pre-use check. After you have turned on the ventilator, the machine will then prompt you whether or not you want to proceed with the pre-use check. Click yes. So you can see these are the steps to be completed, and if there are any pictorial instructions, it will appear on this side of the screen. The first step after this is to connect this test tube, one end to the expiratory limb and the other end to the inspiratory limb. Once this is done, click OK. The machine will then proceed on with the rest of the self-check. In the meantime, we will talk about the other features of this ventilator. This is the expiratory limb with the HEPA filter, and this with the bacteria filter is the inspiratory limb of the circuit. As you can see, this is a touch screen interface, and you are able to swivel the screen from side to side. At the bottom here, you can see the cartridges where other components from the manufacturer can be installed. The two cartridges at the bottom are the internal battery of this machine. Now, the machine will prompt you to switch off the ventilator. This is for the machine to check the internal battery. Then, you can turn on the power again. It will then tell you to remove the test tube . Over here, it says inspiratory. So connect the bacteria filter to the inspiratory limb. Over here, it says expiratory. So connect the HEPA filter limb to the expiratory limb. Subsequently, ensure that the Y piece is blocked with the blue cap. Then press OK. Unblock the Y piece by removing the blue cap. Press OK. The self-check is now complete, as you can see by the passed message that appears on the screen. Click OK, and it will bring you back to the main screen. So once at the main screen, you can see that the pre-use check and the patient circuit test have both been completed, and you can see the date and time at which these tests were completed. Now you are ready to set up the ventilator. First, on the top right-hand corner of the screen, there is a predicted body weight icon that you can click on. Subsequently, select the patient's gender. So for now, we are ventilating a male patient who is 170 centimeters. And then the machine will calculate and tell you that the patient's predicted body weight is 66 kilograms. After you are done, you can click this button. Next, ensure that the machine is set to adult, invasive, and over here, you can select the various modes. So with this machine, the various modes available are assist control, pressure regulated volume control, assist control, volume control, and you can also do AP/RV ventilation. The other modes that are supported are modes like PS, which is like pressure support ventilation that we are used to. For the purposes of this talk, we will only be focusing on pressure control, volume control. Select this, and then it will bring you to the settings that you want to set. First, we start out with the O2 concentration. So for a newly intubated patient, we usually start off with an O2 concentration of 100%. To adjust this, simply click on the button and you can make the adjustments as you need. Once you are done, click the tick button. Next, we can set the PEEP for the patient. To change it, click on it, press the plus button to increase the number. If you are happy, click the tick button. You can set the respiratory rate, followed by the tidal volume. So for ARDS ventilation, we usually aim for between 6 to 8 mL per kilogram of ideal body weight for the patient. And in this patient, we previously know that the predicted body weight for this patient is 6 mL per kilogram. And hence the set tidal volume of 400 mL will give you 6.1 mL per kilogram of predicted body weight for this patient, which is within our limits. If you want to increase it, you can do so. And you can see that the tidal volume per kilogram of body weight will change over here. Click this. The bottom half of the screen shows you the inspiratory time. We usually start with an inspiratory time of between 0.8 to 1.1 seconds. This is the pause. So this is the amount of time that the ventilator will pause after an inspiration, and we usually set this at 0. For inspiratory rise, this is how fast the breath is delivered, and we usually leave it at 0.15. Finally, the trigger button tells you how does the ventilator sense that the patient is trying to take a breath, and we can leave it at 2. After you are done with all these parameters, you will notice that on this part of the screen, it shows you the patient's inspiratory to expiratory ratio, which is 1:2.7. Usually, anything from 1:2 or 1:3 is acceptable. It tells you that the minute ventilation delivered to the patient is 7.6 liters, and the flow is as such. Click accept and start ventilation. So now your patient is being ventilated. On this screen, you can see this is the pressure time curve, this is the flow time curve, and this is the volume time curve. At the bottom part of the screen, these are the parameters that you have set. To see the full range of parameters, click this arrow and it will appear. If you wish to make any changes, simply click on any of these buttons, make the change, and click the tick button. On the right hand side, you will see the parameters that are actually being measured on the patient. So this is the peak pressure. This is the patient's total respiratory rate. You can see these small circles on top with numbers, and these are the alarm limits that have been set. This is the tidal volume that the patient is actually achieving. This is the dynamic compliance of the lung with every breath. This is the total PEEP that is measured in the system. This is the inspiratory to expiratory ratio that the patient is achieving. And this is the FiO2 that the patient is actually achieving. You will notice that there is another tidal volume that is being measured here. So this is the tidal volume that is being delivered to the patient, and this is the tidal volume that the patient is exhaling. If there is a great discrepancy between these two numbers, this suggests that there might be a leak in the system. This number here is the minute ventilation that the patient is achieving. And finally, this is the tidal volume per kilogram of predicted body weight that the patient is achieving. Now we will set the alarm limits for this machine. Click this, and it will show you the alarm settings. So the first one is the peak pressure alarm. If you want to adjust this, click this and change to your desired number. Next is the PEEP alarm. This is the lower limit, and this is the upper limit. This is to ensure that you do not set an overly high or overly low PEEP level for your patient. This is the respiratory rate alarm. The machine will tell you if the patient is taking too few breaths or too many breaths. Again, you can change this to your desired number. Finally, this is the minute ventilation alarm. If you are happy with all of the alarm settings, click accept, and it will go back to the main screen. If you want to do maneuvers like inspiratory pause or expiratory pause, simply click on the maneuvers button under static measurements and click inspiratory hold. The number will then appear on the bottom corner of the screen. So in this patient, the plateau pressure is 14. If you wish to do an expiratory hold, press on the expiratory hold button. And then it will show you the total PEEP in the system over here. To go back to the main screen, click cross. If you wish to give a patient 100% oxygen during suctioning, click the O2 pulse button at the bottom of the screen, and then it will give your patient 100% oxygen for the duration of the suction. To end it, click the cross button.